ladies and gentlemen, is the real world that our children live in, not the ideal one that we want them to live in, not this wonderful world that we pray that will come here one day, but the real world that they have to live in. You want to know why they're acting so crazy? You want to know why they're doing the things that they're doing? Because we have not prepared them to live in this real world. We have sent them through 12 years of school teaching them this dumb stuff that doesn't work, and when they go out and try to apply it and get killed for it, we are not there to help them through.
This conference is being recorded.
Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't African, the talk show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, Buck Wylam, and tonight we're going to talk about images. If you look at the African American community, what you see right now is a lot of confusion. And one of the reasons there's so much confusion is because the images and the sounds that we listen to. We're going to talk about that tonight. And we're also going to come up with ways where we can combat those and come up with alternatives for that. Please, if you want to call in, be a part of the program, give us a call at 605-562-3140. The participant code is 240670#. The images. Why are we walking around here like the sisters say? We walking around here crazy because the images, the sounds, the foods, the environment that we in is toxic to who we are and what we're supposed to be doing. We open with the song Happy by Brick, and that's a play on the song Happy for Pharrell. We're going to get into him in a minute. But Pharrell, the music that is played now is not music. That's why I played Happy by Brick, because here you had a brother talking about being happy, but this is the flip side of that song. The wind instruments you heard, the horns that you heard, the brother played all of those instruments. He played like 3 or 4 or 5 different horns through the whole song. So he had a talent. He was vibrating at a frequency that we all should be vibrating at. But now, since we're off of that, since we don't really play the instruments no more, since that's not a part of the collective, since that's not a part of what we teach our children, we get what we get now. And if you listen to the sounds that's coming off the radio, for real, cuz, after Happy by Brick, we heard Dr. Barbara Sizemore, and she was explaining why we should not bullshit and lie to our kids. So tonight's show, the images that we see every day, that we listen to every day, that has become a part of our culture. What does that do to the African American mind? Joining me as always, my co-host from Memphis, Tennessee. It's cold up in Memphis now, y'all. Niecy Lachelle. Niecy, how you doing, love?
Hey, brother, my beloved, doing all right. How you doing out there, beloved family?
Niecy, the images that we see that shape the mindset of the African American, in your opinion, as a mother, as somebody who has to protect her young against these, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing what we know to be the case. We are some people who are very sensitive when it comes to our surroundings, when it comes to our vibrational frequencies. And so with that being said, when we are constantly being bombarded with things day in and day out, some of it is our own doing when it comes to the rap music, because we know we used to have message music. Now we have hate music. I mean, it's just plain and simple. That's my own take on it, but that's what I call it, because I remember and I grew up with the message music, so I know the difference. And we're the kind of people, what we have to do, we're locked into some mental programs. Let's just be honest. So the repetition of these images, we have to decide how we want to override them. As simple as that. And that takes work. It takes a diligence of understanding what you're up against.
They have a movie. They're in Los Angeles now. All the rage in Los Angeles now. They're shooting a movie called Straight Outta Compton. The movie's about a rap group, an early hip hop group called NWA. To me, that's when music died. There's no instruments. There's no brothers. You know, when you in the early days, you had groups like the Commodores, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Confunction, Brick. I mean, I could be here the rest of the night explaining this. These brothers, each they Parliament Funkadelic. I gotta say that. Sorry. These brothers mixed all their talents together and created a sound that are billion-dollar sellers today. And I think when the breakdown of the music, like with NWA, Straight Outta Compton, and I'll explain why in a minute, I think when the music came out like that, that's when it just killed us because now you don't need, it's kind of like Michael Jackson leaving the Jackson 5. You don't need those other four. Get rid of them. And that's what happened. The breakdown of the music began right there because now people can say anything. And with NWA, these are the brothers who came out with a song, A Bitch is a Bitch, just calling women bitches and hoes left and right. And what they did in the destruction of the so-called African American community, because when sisters started vibrating to that bitch hoe frequency, it it did a number on us. So when music, these images, these sounds come across the community, what are they actually doing? What are they doing to us? We love to hear what you have to say. 605-562-3140. Join us on African Americans Ain't African in Facebook. Join the conversation. What you thinking about? Is it affecting you? Is it affecting your kids? Please let us know. Pharrell, Nisi. I didn't watch the Grammys. I didn't watch it. But when I saw what this cat had on, I was like, you're kidding me. What's up with that, Nisi?
Look, now what I'm hearing, it's always some craziness. So I just want to ask, is that the new black? Here, this cat, he's dressed up like, I don't know. I don't even want to go back and put a Pullman Porter, because that's some of our good history tied up with that. What he reminds me of is one of those little spider monkeys that has that get up on that they used to have, in the circus with the peanuts and the organ grinder, because he has some capris on, and I'm like, I don't know, what is that? So, you see this stuff, next thing you know, this summer, that'll be all the rage, a Varello jacket or something and some capris, and men are wearing that looking like with a little peel hat like a spider monkey. But that's what happens,
I mean,
and then people they'll tell you, oh, stop hating on him. Ain't nobody hating on him, because if you had good sense, you would be questioning what is that about.
Well put, but I would just break it down into a couple of words, like that was some coon shit. And was that planned? That had to be. Did he pick that out for himself to wear? And if so, why? And if so, why are these the kind of people that put us in the frequency that we're in? We're supposed to be operating on earth frequency, y'all. This is one thing about the African American you can't explain to them, because they're on boss's frequency. You are on, that's why everybody runs over here to you. This is the land of the free. Why? Because the African American is sleeping. We are supposed to be on the frequency of this planet, but we're in the frequency of Pharrell, and we'll stand up and defend that. Now, this is a brother during Black History Month. This is why I'm saying this stuff is planned. These white folks be dogging us to our face.
It's got to be planned.
They dog us to our face, and NASA say that's what we supposed to do. Are you serious? So this cat is at the Gram, and he comes out like that. So the little kid around here asked me, I said, did you see Pharaoh on the war? He's like, yeah. I go, what did he have on? This kid is 5. You know what he said? I said, what did he have on? You know what this little kid said?
What?
His face lit up like, and he looked perplexed like, I don't know, but it was strange. I said, would you wear that? He was like,
Good.
Right. So I'm like, these images that are put out, and when they put out images like that, that to me just tells the so-called African American or the so-called black man, this is where you are in compared to the rest of the world, because this is the highest stage. This is the highest stage of music. This is
Well,
the
see,
beauty.
that
Go ahead,
the
love.
get up that he had, I was just going to say, the get up that he had on now, circling the internet is him in the center with four, Pink Panther, European Caucasians, whatever you want to call them, with these people standing around him. And he then, to me, indemnifies servitude. So they all around him, they're dressed in suits and ties, and he got on the get up for servitude. I mean, you'd have to be Helen Keller if you was blind and deaf not to pluck that out of it. If you don't, then, I mean, you got some problems.
You know, they talk about how these entertainers are just basically pets. All of them are basically pets to other people, and they're used to control the minds of the masses. What do you think about that, Nisi?
I think it's part of their job, because, it's an old saying, people who are extremely poor, homeless, are worried about where their next meal is going to come from, where they're going to lay their heads, things like that. But most rich people, especially if you're black, you're worried about never being poor again. That horrifies you, to be poor again. So people want to distance themselves as much as they can. Not all of them, but I would say the vast majority from where they came from. That's an ugly thing. They don't want to ever go there again. So what they end up doing, yes, you absolutely sell your soul. You sell your soul because you want to be completely disconnected from who you innately are. Now, the best I can say is that comes with a package. Maybe it's something, some tiny little writing that says you can't ever do anything but what we tell you to do, and everything that you do has to be almost a detriment to your collective to the extent. So, but most important is that distraction, and that's what a lot of it is, because we embrace these people. We see them as successful because they have money or whatever, and we, look at that as being success, money, success. No matter how you get it, if you got money, you're successful. That's what we tend to look at. But this distraction is a play for a loss of concentration and focus, and that's where that's to our detriment. That's where we get lost.
I was in Memphis earlier in the week, and was at some friend's house, and they asked me had I ever saw this show called Empire. I was like, no. So, man, you got to see this. You got to see it. It's off the hook. They put on an episode of Empire, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Tahari P. Henson, the lead actress, beautiful, beautiful. How come sisters are never put in roles that highlight and make them the heroine? It's always some old bullshit, and we love it. This starts out, this sister coming out of jail, got 3 sons. The pops. Now this is the family tree. Pops is just the dog dude. He throws one of his sons in the trash can. I'm like, you cannot be, you're bullshitting me. No way. The majority of our people think this shit is cool. I'm not gonna say the majority of people who watch it. What's up with that, Nisi?
Well, I mean, I like to keep it real. For a long time, that's how drugs ravished our community, and we have to go back to come forward. When the war on drugs was implemented as a strategic. This stuff was dumped on us. You had people who were paid informants. They were all kind of stuff. You had gang members. They saw this as a way out, and people did start selling drugs, doing all this stuff, letting your own community be your best customers. Okay, you expanded some of them, and then they got other customers, but again, you sold poison to your people. Okay, let's be clear. A lot of people did that. They then took that filthy, dirty money, and now they call themselves making it clean. We know pastors who launder money for dope dealers and so forth. We know that. So no one stands up, in the gap and say, hey, this is just, we can't do this. People look the other way. It's known. And there are plenty of people who have made their stake in life from just what Empire shows.
Have we ran out of that? Because we always say somebody needs to stand up. We need a leader. Isn't it time that we all stand up? Because haven't we learned our lessons from that? Just thrusting one person out front to get killed so we can be dead for another 60, 70 years? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? Aren't we all supposed to be? Isn't it incumbent on all of us? Because I think a lot of time we use that playing stupid role. We use that to get out of stuff. Because I don't believe as a group of people we're this dumb. I think a lot of it is acting. And I think that's what these actors and actresses, they are the leaders, so-called, for the so-called African American community to act so complacent and ignorant as they're acting. And that's what it is. It is no excuse for us not to be not caring about what happens here in America, what happens to the earth, oil spills. All we play is that victim role. I can't do nothing. And that's how we are. And I'm saying it's these sounds, these images that we see and the words that we use that puts us in that mindset. Bitch and hoe. We was talking about that earlier with the Straight Outta Compton guys. Dr. Dre, the guy who came out, before we get into Dr. Dre, this is another thing. This cat, Suge Knight. These type cats, these type people are very heavily responsible for the images and sounds that we see. And you can see that their lives are always mired in controversy. Coming from a soul like that, isn't those the type of sounds or the type of vibrations that we're vibing to every day that keeps us, well, basically where we are, stops us from moving, being progressive? No, Nisi?
Well, we like noise. Like I said, we're
ain't lying
people,
about that.
We're drawn to that. It doesn't take a lot to open the door to chaos for us. And we're believe it or not, we're very sensitive to the things around us. But what happens is we get sucked into this vortex. We have to have some self-discipline. As simple as that. And it would behoove us to understand that money, quote unquote, the fake fiat, it is just another tool. It is a strategic, it is part of a tactic, and no one else has to compromise themselves the way that we do to get it. And people should think about that.
But
the
that's
question I ask is, what won't you do for money? I don't ask what will you do for money. What won't you do for money?
But that's what I'm talking about. Isn't that indicative of because you are the money? Because if this is what I mean by this. It's well said in the community that when the immigrants come here, the first thing they do is to the poor black community. They move to the poor black communities to get rich. If they move to the poor black communities to get rich, that means that those people in those areas are not poor. They are rich. If a immigrant from the mountains of Korea can come in and be a millionaire in a few years, how come the community aren't producing millionaires like that? And this is what I mean about how we're stuck in these plastic mind pictures that we can't get out of, because these sounds and these images that we are seeing every day helps keep those pictures in place in our minds. The wig shops is a perfect example of that. Why are there so many beauty supply places in the so-called African American community? That lets the community know that they're ugly. We don't look at it like that because all we're doing is consuming. But these businesses and these things that are in the community are there to uphold that fact. We have a caller on the line, area code 651. You had something you wanted to add? A lot of the images that we see, a lot of them are not really images. They're the words that are being used. A lot of times, remember, before this is how it's supposed to be. I'm not saying this how it is all the time, but you think it, you say it, and you do it. A lot of times a word will produce a picture or a series of pictures in your mind. Whatever your relationship is to the word, you may not even know the definition of it. You may just like the way the words sound and had an emotional attachment to the word, like the word nigga, or like it's Black History Month. What does black mean? What is the definition of the word black? And most people who use the word don't even realize what the word means. And so the confusion starts when we talk about things and we cast spells on ourselves because we don't understand what the word means. The word black, for instance, is an adjective. An adjective is something used to describe a thing. People are not things, number one. Number two, you haven't, nor have I, ever seen somebody who was the color black. Black is a name was given to people that were going to be slaves. They weren't people. They were things used to make other people money. It's not a description of a people, but here we call it Black History Month, Black Power. We say these words in the wrong context, and we confuse ourselves. Words conjures up images. And the images that we all see of black and the whole world sees of black is at the bottom of the totem pole. You can even tell it in the way they say it. They don't say black with any endearment. It's like they're talking about nothing. So this is what I mean about an African American as an African is if we're gonna have to get ourselves out of these problems. We're gonna have to solve our problems. Nobody's coming to do it for us. Now, most of us are in the mindset that we're comfortable. This is as good as it gets. Time will tell. But I think the ones who are paying attention, the ones who are seeing what's happening, the ones that can see. 813, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, hip hop used to be good. They used to tell like both sides of the story. You know what I'm saying? Like Tupac used to tell, the bad side about the hood, but he used to tell the good side, what we got to do to get us out of it. We can't just talk about the bad part. We got to talk about the good part too. And I see that's why they hated him a lot, because they wanted to change hip hop to just about money, cars, women, money, cars, women, and he wasn't going with that. But a lot of people they never even mentioned that.
So you think that's the reason why he was taken out of here?
Oh yeah, he was taken out because he always told the flip. Brenda has a baby. He talked about 16 on death row, changes. He made so many songs that these rappers don't even talk about today. They just talk about the bad part of the hood, but they don't talk about, okay, what can we do to make it better? You know what I'm saying? They don't talk about nothing like that. Of course, yeah. You know, his mom was a Black Panther too, so I think they let him go as far as, you know, they wanted to let him go. And then, you know, they did all the stuff they did to him, like frame him, you know, turn his best friend against him. They told Biggie, oh, okay, if you want to make it big, because Biggie, he wasn't doing nothing at first because, you know, Biggie had rapping skills, but, you know, he was just a big fat dude who, you know, he didn't have the image. So they told him, hey, if you want to get down, you're going to have to turn against your best friend. That's what he did. He turned against his best friend and, you know, almost had him killed. And
what do you think about other than sounds? This is I'm talking about mainstream media. When you look at the images that are coming out in the mainstream images, you just had a movie called Selma, where black people getting slapped in the mouth. You have movies, recent years, movies like The Butler, 12 Years a Slave. I mean, I could go on for the rest of the night with the movies that's coming out, showing you in a position of servitude and jigabooism. When other people put out movies, it's movies that where they're in space, exploring space. They're exploring higher cerebral realms. They're outside of the box. They're in deep sea. They're moving objects with their mind. But the so-called African American community is, I mean, what's the latest movie? Selma. And so our children, and what these movies do to other groups of people, it makes their children think that anything can be accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Let me finish, sir. There are no
okay.
there are no barriers. You can do anything. Our movies are just straight coon, and we love it. When we see what that's doing to our community, because honestly, brother, in the black communities, so-called black African American communities, really.
Well, I remember the '90s, and I remember the '80s. We used to have a lot of good movies out there, even the sitcoms and the stuff like that. We don't have nothing out there now except for Tyler Perry and The Dress and stuff like that. And I think the biggest part is, you know, our women ain't waking up. I don't have nothing against homosexuality, but they're not waking up. They see this homosexuality with the rappers. They see it with the singers. They see it with the actors. And, you know, women seem to be like so emotional and so sensitive. They just want to grab on to anything that's good. And, you know, I'm not trying to say put these people down, but, you know, they're claiming they're doing this for women and they love women, but they really like guys. That's the thing I want to expose and stuff like that. But as far as movies and stuff like that, I think, like, you know, everybody's starting to wake up, like the so-called African American community. People starting to wake up, so they're trying to drown us back down with this, you know, slave stuff. You know, I think even though we beef with like Moors, Pan-Africans, I think altogether, you know, we're going different ways with it, but we're starting to wake up. So they got to keep drowning us, you know.
Yes, sir. I understand, and that sounds about right. The homosexual agenda, again on the show Empire, that's all through the movie. Also, a brother got a white girl. I mean, all the bottom of the barrel stereotypes about us is present. The homosexual agenda, this is something we don't want to talk about, because when you talk about genocide and when you're killing out a bunch of people, what is one of the main prongs into doing that? It's not having any children. The children have to replace the souls that are leaving. It's a cycle, day and night. The souls that are leaving, they're being recycled by the children that are coming in. Homosexuality cuts that out big time. We don't want to talk about it because the homosexual and the gay they don't want to talk about it because they know it's true. It's a major prong in genocide. Now, what I normally do is I ask African Americans, every city I go to, I ask them, what is the premature death rate among African Americans in your community? The average is about 30% premature deaths in our community. And I always say, don't count abortions. Let's not talk about that because we get sensitive when we talk about that. We got a premature death rate hovering around 30%. Abortions is through the roof. So-called African American males and females hate each other. I'm talking about despise. When brothers talk about sisters, it's like with disdain. And now you're going to throw homosexuality. I'm sorry. Homosexuality just means one sex. One sex. Sodomy. Not going against the natural order of things. Going against the natural order of things. Y'all can play with this nature thing all you want. This is why African Americans are scared of nature. You can't go against that because it perpetuates life. It keeps life going. It keeps us connected to the planet. So the homosexual agenda, I'm not here to tell nobody what to do. It's your life. But it's one of the major prongs in genocide. And when that's brought up, when they're trying to shove this stuff down our throat, I think that's something that we got to bring up. Nisi, what do you think?
Say?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I just want to say one more image that just like killed us recently. When this is an image that just got set out. I guess it was about a month ago with Obama. And, when Obama got elected, we was dancing, we was making songs, we was putting this fool up on the barbershop murals, and we was like, yeah, he our black president. We was going all crazy and shit like that. Right. And I was like, okay. So not too long ago, he just told the Mexicans, he said, I'm going to reward you. He said, I'm going to give you more time to be here. The ones that's been working illegally, who broke 2 crimes, 1, jumping the border, 2, for using fake Social Security numbers. He just gave them, he just gave something to them for breaking 2 laws. But every time we break a law, we go to jail. So when I go back and tell, my black folks, they say, oh, well, Obama, they make up every excuse for this dude not doing nothing for them. And, oh, Obama can't do nothing. I said, this fool just used executive power to give people who broke the law more time to be here. And really what he did, he wasn't rewarding the Mexicans. He was rewarding the corporations, the restaurants, the bakeries, the construction companies, the farmers, all the people that hired these people. They give money to the Republican and the Democratic campaigns when they run for senator, governor, mayor, president. So they can use it for commercials, ads, and stuff like that. That's who is really rewarded. But when you go back and tell black folks this, they always, Obama can't do nothing because then well, he just used executive order for the Mexicans who broke 2 laws. And I was like, what kind of image did he just send out to his own people that he ain't doing nothing for them? He just did something for the Mexicans. I gotta say something on there. See, that's part of the duping. First of all, when we talk about, we are the people who help create signs and stuff. Now, if you want to know, and we're very smart people when we choose to be, but we have allowed ourselves to be dumbed down. Obama is not black. You are what your mama is. Obama's mama is supposed to be white, so he's white. So all of this stuff, that is just major duping. That is major brainwashing. We do not have slave codes anymore. Okay. Now, if we have them to the extent that we continue to embrace them, why don't we take all of this fraudulent language and mirror the shit back to the people who gave it to you? We supposedly don't have slave codes. So if your mama is white, according to mitochondrial DNA, then you're white. He ain't black. So you're sitting up there embracing something that is crazy. He's not black in the first place. But you can, if they say he's not black. We have to stand firm on what truth and empirical fact is.
We keep on allowing people to shove literal SHIT down our throat, and it makes no sense. Okay? Now, according to, if your mom is Jewish, let them tell it you're Jewish. Okay, that's not even quasi-race, and we know race isn't real. So if your mom is Jewish, you're Jewish, but if your mom is white and you're mixed, you're black. We got to quit just going round and round and round on this hamster wheel with this duping. It doesn't even make sense. I just listen to people go on and on and on about that he's not black. We're always running around letting people tell us who we are, okay? Even when it doesn't serve us, they dupe us into thinking that it is. So we give the person who is supposedly the first black president, which he isn't. He's not black. He's not the first black president. He's none of those things. But you still run around hypnotized and mesmerized, with all of this conjuring of the spells of the shiny things and the duping.
Mhm.
So I don't know what expectations you should have for somebody who really isn't one of you to begin with. He never said he was. By nature, he isn't. So, what is wrong with us? Now, the next person who gets in there, I hope it's Hillary Clinton. I ain't going to even vote. Don't say nothing to her. Give her the same pass that you gave him. Because she's a Democrat, give her the same pass that you gave him.
Well, I mean that's true, but it's a lot of people that's mixed. But that wasn't my point. It was just that we. No, I respect everything you're saying on that, but we just want to grab onto something that ain't there, and then when we get our feelings hurt, we don't want to accept that we got our feelings hurt. We just want to make up excuses to not get our feelings hurt.
But isn't it since Obama won the presidency, 6-7 years ago, since he won the presidency, you haven't those same people who were when he won, who were out there jumping up and down, acting like complete asses. Where are those people now? Do you think that this is something that they have caught on to and seen that the people who were, when he ran for president, the people were saying, "Wait a minute, look at this. You don't see those people no more. What's happened?"
I just think they're making up excuses. If people forget history. They forget yesterday, and they just move on with today. But Obama, he did the same stuff that Bush did. Before Bush left office, he gave money to the credit card people, the airlines, the car companies. All these people he gave money to, billions. And then Obama came in office and did the same thing. The banks, the airlines, the credit card people, and GM and Ford. So he doubled the billions, but nobody said nothing about that.
Sir, what makes it where we can't even see? This is what I mean about the African American. I'm not talking about the rest of the humanity, because all other people, wherever you go, in African American communities, in poor African American communities, they're the only ones there. Now, people will come and set up shop to come and rob them of their riches, but that's because we don't know who we are, while we just freely give everything we have away. What do you think it's going to take? Nisi, this is for you also. What do you think that it's going to take for us to have that aha moment? I'm talking about as a nation of people.
I'm going to tell you what I think real quick. We as a people, as we embrace all of who we are, innately so, but we're talking about who we are today. And we're kind of different people than what we used to be because of all of these forces that are coming at us in every which kind of way. For every strategic move that we make, we think about today. These folks, these forces, all of this stuff, it is 10 steps ahead of us because they think long term. We don't think long term. We think about today. We let tomorrow take care of itself. Well, right there, that's a defeatist attitude, because if you believe or you hope that you open your eyes tomorrow, you got to prepare. Now, what we don't do, we have difficulty conceptualizing, taking the ideal from the abstract into the concrete. We don't wrestle with it enough. If our head begins to hurt just an iota, we drop it, we leave it alone. So how can we then actualize something into action, so that we can begin to have this done generationally? That is what has happened to us in the last 40, at least 40 years. We just don't do any of that.
So you saying the civil rights? Okay, well, one of the things in all these movies with the new ones, The Butler, and all these slave movies that come out, one of the main sticking points is the civil rights movement. Is the civil rights movement, did it produce what it was supposed to produce for us? Is that something that we should be proud of? Did we gain from that, or did we lose from that civil rights movement? Because that seems to be one of the main sticking points in a lot of these movies, marching and all that stuff.
I say we lost because we had our own. And when you choose to be a simulation, go into simulation, okay, then you're going to give up things that are culturally you. So we thought that giving up a lot of ourselves was the way to go. So we lose. And we did lose. We lost on that front. And we haven't been able to make those strides back in terms of all the things that we had within our communities and things like that. So what we do, we let people come in, like you say, set up shop. The Pink Panther is really a human hermit crab. He goes around globally taking people's houses, just like if you've ever watched a hermit crab go and take other crabs' shells. Doesn't matter if it's thick, doesn't matter if it's too big, too small, they just take it, So where's our stuff? What is it that we're willing to stand up for? What is it that we're willing to unify for? What is it that we're willing to, join together as a collective force? And we have, if we continue to embrace individualism, and we're really the only group who does that. Nobody else does that to the extent that you are an island. No group collective is an island. You cannot survive being an island. So we're siloed every which way. We're not connected. We're disconnected. I don't know how we're supposed to, get ourselves together if everybody's going in all these different directions.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I was we're going in different directions, and I remember I was listening, I listen to different people because, not everybody knows everything, but you take, I was listening to Ray Higgins today, and he's like a Pan-African. But the thing about him, he says a lot of good stuff, but he goes back to, being a Pan-African. He talks about, he really talks about, the Christianity, religion being wrong because he used to be a pastor and all this stuff. And everything he says is right, but he wants to run Africa. Everything the Moors say is right, but they want to run and be a Moor. They don't want to be indigenous of this country. They don't want to, they don't want to stand up for this country. They want
why they don't want to do that?
What's that?
Because they have to do something. See, males, we have to do something. And one of the reasons that those brothers are put forth, because if you keep looking towards Africa, that means you won't pay attention to what's going on to you right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's here in America. That's all over here in America, from Alaska, Canada, North America, Caribbean, South America on down. All these brothers over here, and we haven't came up with the thought, the idea to do nothing. And yet we sit in and beat on our chest like, I'm the black man, I'm a king, I'm the first man on the planet. We look like fools. And these people are the ones who get pat on the back and on the head and who everybody loves. They're out there to put that to you so you won't pay attention what's happening to your habitat right here. That's why you're given the African story. And those brothers help perpetuate it because they ain't coming out. It's dead. These kids got a hold as African American ain't African, man, and they go and pulling up stuff. What they're doing is translating it. and they're doing a wonderful job. So the Pan Africans, the Moors, that Islamic stuff. Now here's all these Islamic people over here. What kind of confusion is that going to start for our community? This is where we are.
Yeah.
So we're surrounded. And we up here, and the images that are put out keeps us in this dumb mode. And this is another thing that really gets us. We can do dumb stuff all day. Nothing is said about it. But when somebody said, hey, shouldn't we not be doing that? That person's the one who gets slapped upside or he gets cussed out. So this is how the African American has been trained. The African American is a made up product. It's not self-autonomy. It doesn't have a history. The African American's history starts in 1988. Because if you look at the people who are walking this planet now and the people who are walking around here at 1888, 100 years prior, two totally different people. We're cut off. We're cut off from our ancestors with that African story, and like the sisters say, we're islands now. It's about me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the images, the words, and the sounds that we use is very major in making that happen with us.
Because I was listening to a Pan-African the other day, and he kept talking about Africans were the first people in America, South America, but he didn't want to talk about the history here. He just kept talking about, Africa. How can you want to talk about the history of America if your immediate ancestors were from America? How come you don't talk about America? How come you keep running back to Africa?
That's what I mean. We're basically robots because that's all the information they have. They won't even think outside of that realm. That's all they know. They don't. African Americans don't search for information. They're there to be told what to do. That's what they do. That's what the African American does. He's told what to do, and he waits for people to come tell him what to do. So, Nisi, what do you think? Images. What do you do when you want to take your mind or take the images in your mind, when you want to change those images from the images that you see out in front of you every day? What do you do?
One of the things that I use, and I just recently started doing it, meditation is good. We have got to get back. You've got to go inward. And when we say this, people, tend to look at you, all kind of ways, all upside your head. Everything about you starts inside, okay? Now, what you have to do, you have to spend some time meditating. If it's early in the morning for you, if it's, right before you get ready to retire for the night, if it's in between lunchtime, you've got to find some time to go inward. I sun gaze. And the sun is our energy. We are sun people. One of the reasons that all of these things are happening to us because they do not want us to be connected to this earth and to realize our full potential given our vibrational kinetic energy. They don't want that. But where we help them is that we are not synergistic. We have to be synergistic because our forces together, it is, you can't even describe it when we are united in terms of where we're trying to go. I don't mean that we have to be monolithic, lockstep, everybody thinks in the same robotic, automatronic or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. But the things that we allow ourselves to be infiltrated with, we have got to learn how to filter and repel a lot of this stuff. If we start doing that, things that are good for us, ideals, a lot of stuff will come to us, but we're being sucked, like I said, into this vibrational vortex that isn't our own doing or making, and we're still helping perpetuate it nevertheless.
All Earth has people, the people on certain sections of the Earth, the people on certain islands, the people on certain patches of land. They're on that land and they're connected to that land to help Earth maintain its cosmic balance. If you look at the solar system, the people on the planet, that's our job. The indigenous people's job. That's why the indigenous people do what they do. If you look at indigenous people in the family of all animals, all life forms, indigenous people around the world work with the environment, work with their habitat to help maintain it. The African American who thinks he's African has no connection to Africa, so he's not helping maintain the balance of the planet by being in Africa. The African American is right here in Central North America. And what we're going through right now, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, woo woo, whoever you pray or put your faith in, would spit in every single last one of our faces because we've opted to follow idols bought to you from foreigners instead of giving props and praise to your own mama, which is earth. And then you stand by and let other people run over here and take it from you, and you don't even lift your voice. You just want another job. The images that are put out there are to keep us stupid. And as right now, they're doing a very wonderful job. Because it's like this sister told me, she said, why do we always like the downtrodden? Every time they show us something, our musicians are downtrodden now. You don't see any more Stevie Wonders. All you see is clowns. Why are we into that? Why do we like that? Why do we love it? Why do we teach our children that? Ask yourself some questions seriously. You don't have to ask nobody. Ask yourself if you have the wherewithal and the mental capacity to answer your own questions. Start asking yourself questions. When you answer those questions, it'll give you the directions on how to get out of the morass that we're in. It's at the top of the hour. I'm going to open up the phone lines for one last time. Anybody have anything they want to add, please? Now is the time. Nisi.
Yes.
Can you
yes,
take us
love.
out? Can you take us out?
You know it. What I try to do with each show, I try to come up with some thoughts that can connect us, that resonate with us, that will take us to the next time that we talk and we meet and share. There are basically three kinds of people in the world. Those are the keepers of light, the fighters for it, those who are the destroyers of light, and those who would rather not get into the fray of the quote-unquote, quote, light fight. These are the people who don't mind sitting in the darkness. It's important that each of us, family, each one of us, heals the wounds that are inside of us. And yes, we are hurting. We are hurting immensely. You are the keeper of your own soul. It was always our collectivism and our sense of community that preserved our humanity. You must know who you are or begin to find yourself if you don't. Understand what your purpose is and that your mission is intricately linked to that. And with that, until next time, peace and love.
Thank you very much for that, Nisi, and thank all the listeners for joining us tonight. Hope you have a good weekend coming up. Tuesday night, we're going to have a young man come on. This is a young brother who, like the brother said earlier, he traced his recent history. This is another thing that we're going to have to do. Trace your recent history. You don't know what you'll find. We just jump over to Africa. We don't even think about great-great-great-grandma. We just jump over her. That woman probably was a queen somewhere or a high priestess somewhere, and we don't know about it because we jumping in the arms of somebody else. This is a foolish thing that we do. Foolish. The brother we're going to have on Tuesday, this is a young man, and he found out about African Americans ain't African about 5 years ago. Check out what this young man and the rest of these young cats are doing. What they going into these university libraries pulling up will blow you away. He'll be with us, Johnny Aborigine, Tuesday, here on African Americans Ain't African. Again, thank you for joining us. Um, we're trying to just bring some higher levels of thought here and communication because we can't, if this is the way we going out, we can't go out like this. There's no way. We cannot keep embarrassing ourselves like this. So at African Americans Ain't African, we're just here to some some higher level thoughts. So with that, I want to say thank you for joining us. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday night. Good night.
Good night.